In the heart of Willow Creek, a quaint American town where the hustle of modern life seemed to fade into a gentle whisper, stood a Victorian house that had weathered the storms of time. Nestled between tree-lined streets and historic facades, its peeling paint and overgrown garden hinted at stories long forgotten by the world outside. The town itself was a relic of a bygone era, a place where cobblestone paths wound past charming storefronts. Where once artisans and craftsmen thrived, their legacy now preserved in the nostalgic charm that hung in the air like a soft melody. Emily, a real estate agent in her early 30s, had walked through countless homes in her career, each with its own character and quirks. But there was something undeniably different about this one. She approached it with a mix of anticipation and reverence, her chestnut hair tied back in a neat ponytail, her navy blazer crisp against the autumn chill. She'd always been drawn to old homes not just for their potential market value, but for the stories they held within their walls, the echoes of lives lived and loves lost. As she stepped onto the creaky wooden porch, the sunlight filtered through the tall, narrow windows, casting golden patterns across the weathered boards. The air felt heavy with memories, as if the house itself was exhaling a breath it had held for decades. She pushed open the front door, and the scent of aged paper and rosewood greeted her like an old friend. Dust particles danced in the beams of light that pierced the stillness, and each step she took sent a soft creak reverberating through the empty halls, a sound that seemed to whisper of the footsteps. Emily's warm brown eyes scanned the interior, taking in the faded grandeur, the ornate crown molding, the chipped fireplace mantel, the staircase that curved upward into shadow. She moved deeper into the house, her curiosity pulling her toward the study, a small room tucked away behind the parlor. There, atop an antique mahogany desk, lay a stack of yellowed envelopes, their edges curling with age, tied together with a faded blue ribbon that had long since lost its vibrancy. Her fingers hesitated for a moment before gently untying the bundle, as if she sensed the weight of what she was about to uncover. The envelope spilled open, revealing letters addressed to names she didn't recognize, names like Jack, Edward, and, most frequently, Thomas. The handwriting was elegant, each stroke deliberate and graceful, and the first line of every letter began with the same poignant phrase, "To all the boys I've loved before." Intrigued, Emily sat down in the creaky chair beside the desk, the leather worn smooth by years of use, and began to read. A tapestry of heartfelt confessions, of love that burned brightly and longing that lingered like a shadow. They painted a vivid portrait of a young woman named Clara, whose emotions leapt off the pages as if the ink itself still carried the warmth of her hand. One letter spoke of a summer romance with a traveling musician named Jack. Clara described how they'd met at a town fair, his guitar strumming melodies that wove through the warm night air. How they danced under the stars until dawn broke over the horizon. "Your music was my heartbeat," she wrote, "and though you left with the changing winds, I'll always hear your song in the quiet moments." Another letter recounted a fleeting affair with a poet named Edward. Their connection sparked during an autumn festival. "Your words were a dance of their own," Clara penned, each syllable a leaf falling gently to the ground. "But like the season, you were gone too soon, leaving me with verses I'll never forget." But it was the letters to Thomas that held Emily captive. Clara's words to him were different, deeper, more desperate, laced with a love that seemed to defy time itself. "My dearest Thomas," she wrote in one, "every glance we share is a promise, every touch a vow. I dream of a life where we're free to love, unshackled by the world's expectations." As Emily read on, she felt a connection blossoming within her, a resonance with Clara's hopes and fears, her joys and sorrows. She couldn't help but wonder who Clara had been, what had become of her loves, and why these letters had been left behind, hidden like treasures in this aging house. Her exploration didn't stop at the desk. She wandered through the rooms, each discovery adding layers to Clara's story. In the bedroom closet, she found a vintage dress. Its lace delicate and timeless, swaying slightly as if stirred by a memory. Downstairs, a sepia-toned photograph rested on a shelf, a young couple laughing, their joy frozen in a moment from the 1950s. And in the attic, she uncovered a leather-bound diary, its pages filled with musings about love and life, a dried rose pressed between them like a keepsake of a promise unkept. The house wasn't just a structure to Emily anymore. It was a repository of memories, a testament to a love story waiting to be told. She stood in the study, the letters spread out before her, and felt the weight of their significance. This wasn't just another listing. It was a journey into the past, one she was now a part of. The discovery of the letters in the study had ignited a spark in Emily, a need to uncover more of Clara's story. She returned to the house the next day, her footsteps more purposeful now, her mind buzzing with questions. The Victorian seemed to welcome her back, its creaks and groans almost familiar, like a friend sharing secrets in hushed tones. As she moved through the living room, her eyes caught on a loose floorboard near the fireplace. It was subtle, just a slight lift at one end, but it stood out against the otherwise even planks. Kneeling down, she ran her fingers along the edge, feeling the roughness of aged wood. With a gentle tug, the board lifted, revealing a hidden compartment beneath. A small hollow carved into the foundation of the house. Inside lay more letters, carefully preserved in delicate envelopes. Their paper brittle but intact. These were different from the ones on the desk. More urgent, more personal, all addressed to Thomas. Emily's heart quickened as she lifted them out. The faded blue ribbon binding them together crumbling slightly under her touch. Beside the letters was a small, ornate key, rusted with age, its purpose a mystery that tugged at her imagination. She settled onto the floor, the cool wood pressing against her knees, and began to read. Clara's words to Thomas were raw, unguarded, spilling over with a love that felt both exhilarating and forbid. "My dearest Thomas," one began, "the garden is our sanctuary, where the moonlight hides us from prying eyes. I live for those stolen moments, when your hand finds mine and the world fades away." Another spoke of plans to escape. "We'll leave Willow Creek behind, start anew where no one knows our names. I'd give up everything for you, everything." But there were also letters of despair. "You're gone, Thomas, and the silence is unbearable." Clara wrote in a shaky hand. "Did they force you away, or did you choose to leave me? I wait, but each day chips away at my hope." The ink was smudged in places, as if tears had fallen as she wrote, and Emily felt a lump rise in her throat. What had happened to them? The key in her hand felt like a clue, a piece of the puzzle she was determined to solve. She stood, brushing dust from her jeans, and began a more thorough search of the house. Her first stop was the attic, a cramped space filled with dusty trunks and forgotten furniture, the air thick with the scent of time. In one trunk, she found a collection of love poems, handwritten in a bold, masculine script. Thomas's, she assumed. "To Clara, my muse," one read. "Your laughter is the canvas of my soul, your love the colors that bring me to life." The poems were tender, passionate, each line a testament to a bond that had once seemed unbreakable. Emily traced the words with her fingers, imagining Thomas penning them in secret, perhaps by candlelight. His heart poured onto the page. Her search led her next to a small door under the staircase, barely noticeable behind a faded tapestry. Her breath caught as she inserted the key. It fit perfectly. With a turn, the lock clicked, and the door creaked open, revealing a hidden room no bigger than a closet. The walls were lined with paintings, each one a portrait of Clara, capturing her in different moments of her life. There she was in her youth, auburn hair glowing in the sunlight, hazel eyes sparkling with mischief. Another showed her older, her expression serene, yet tinged with melancholy. But the painting that stopped Emily in her tracks was of Clara and Thomas together, their hands intertwined, their silhouettes framed against a sunset. Thomas's brown hair was neatly combed, his blue eyes locked on Clara's, a gentle smile playing on his lips. The love between them was palpable, immortalized in brushstrokes that had outlasted their time together. Emily stepped back, overwhelmed. This house wasn't just hiding letters, it was guarding an entire love story, pieced together through the remnants Clara had left behind. She knew then that she couldn't let this tale fade into obscurity. It deserved to be told, to be remembered. The hidden room had opened a floodgate of emotion for Emily, and she found herself returning to the letters with a new sense of purpose. Each envelope she unfolded was a window into Clara's soul, a world where love was both a refuge and a battlefield. Sitting at the antique desk, a cup of tea steaming beside her, she lost herself in the words, the house around her fading into a quiet backdrop. The letters revealed the breadth of Clara's heart, the men who had danced through her life, like fleeting shadows. There was Jack, the traveling musician, whose summer romance with Clara had been a whirlwind of passio. "Your guitar strings sang to my soul," she wrote, "and under the stars, we danced like no one was watching." But as the seasons changed, so did our paths, leaving me with melodies of what could have been. Emily could almost hear the music, see Clara in her floral tea dress, twirling in the moonlight with Jack's dark hair catching the breeze. Then there was Edward, the poet, whose brief affair with Clara had burned bright and fast. "Your words were like poetry," she penned, weaving dreams into reality. "Yet, like the autumn leaves, our love fell, beautiful but brief." Emily pictured them walking through Willow Creek's parks, Edward's book of poems tucked under his arm, Clara's auburn hair glowing against the golden foliage. But Thomas was the constant, the thread that wove through every page. Clara's letters to him were a symphony of emotion, each note richer than the last. "My dearest Thomas," she wrote, "every moment with you feels like a lifetime. Your laughter is my favorite song, and your eyes hold the universe. I dream of a future where we are together, and bound by the constraints of our world." The words were a vow, a plea, a declaration that made Emily's chest tight. Yet, the letters also carried pie. "Our love is a secret, hidden from the world," Clara confessed, "but in my heart, it shines brighter than any star. I fear the day when we must choose between duty and desire." Another read, "They've taken you from me, Thomas, and I'm left with echoes. Did you fight for us, or did you let go?" The vulnerability in those lines struck Emily deeply. stirring memories of her own past love's relationships that had taught her the delicate balance of joy and heartbreak. She leaned back in the chair, the tea gone cold, and let her mind wander. She imagined Clara and Thomas in this very house, their stolen glances across the parlor, their whispered promises in the garden. What had torn them apart? Was it family, society, or something more personal? The questions gnawed at her, urging her to dig deeper. Emily's own life began to intertwine with Clara's story. She'd once loved someone fiercely, a man whose dreams had pulled him away just as Thomas's had, leaving her to pick up the pieces. Reading Clara's words felt like reading her own heart, and she wondered if Clara had ever found peace or if Thomas had ever returned. Determined to uncover the truth, she decided to research the house's history. She gathered the letters, tucking them into her bag, and headed to the Willow Creek Historical Society. There, amidst shelves of old newspapers and dusty records, she hoped to find answers, clues about Clara, Thomas, and the love that had left its mark on this house. Emily's visits to the house became a ritual, each trip a step closer to understanding Clara and Thomas. She began to see the Victorian not as a listing to sell, but as a living archive. Its rooms brimming with the ghosts of their love. The parlor, with its vintage gramophone and faded velvet chairs, seemed to hum with the memory of their last. She pictured Clara and Thomas dancing there, his suit crisp, her dress swaying, the music wrapping them in a world of their own. In the kitchen, an old recipe book lay open on the counter, its pages yellowed and stained with youth. Emily imagined Clara teaching Thomas to bake perhaps her famous apple pie, his hands clumsy with the dough, her laughter brightening the room. She could almost smell the cinnamon, hear their playful banter as flour dusted the air. The garden was perhaps the most vivid in her mind. Overgrown now with roses and wildflowers, it had once been their home. She saw them on a bench, Clara's head resting on Thomas's shoulder, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. One day, she might have said, "This will all be ours, no secrets. No hiding." Thomas would have squeezed her hand, his blue eyes promising forever. But the house held their sorrow too. In the bedroom, Emily found a half-finished letter on the nightstand, the ink smudged with tears. "Thomas, my love," it read, "I cannot bear the separation. Every day without you is a lifetime of emptiness. Please, find a way back to me." The words cut deep, and Emily wondered what had driven them apart. Her quest for answers took her to the Willow Creek Historical Society, where she met Margaret, an elderly historian with gray hair and a wealth of knowledge. Margaret remembered the house and she was the daughter of a prominent family, she explained, her voice soft with reminiscence. Thomas was an artist, talented but her parents disapproved, arranged a marriage to a wealthy man instead. Emily listened, her heart sinking. Thomas had been sent to Europe to study art, a move orchestrated to separate. Clara had married as expected, but her heart remained with Thomas. She'd lived in the house until her death, filling it with letters and mementos, hoping he'd return. She never stopped loving him. Back at the house, Emily stood in the secret room, gazing at the painting of Clara and Thomas. She felt a duty to honor their story, to ensure it wasn't lost to time. The house had waited, preserving their love in its creaks and shadows, and now, it was up to her to share it. The open house arrived, and Emily felt a bittersweet pang as she prepared the Victorian for its next chapter. She cleaned every corner, staged the rooms with care, and left the letters and paintings as subtle nods to its history. Visitors streamed in, marveling at the architecture, the high ceilings, the stained glass windows, the charm that time hadn't erased. Among them were Sarah and Michael, a young couple in their late 20s and mid-30s, respectively. Sarah, with her long blonde hair and excited eyes, was a writer drawn to the study's desk, imagining her next novel inspired by Clara's letters. Michael, with his short brown hair and quiet contentment, saw the garden as a canvas for his art, the secret room a potential studio. They held hands as Emily shared Clara and Thomas's story, their faces softening with each detail. "They loved each other so much," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. "This house feels like it's part of that love." Michael nodded, adding, "We want to honor it, build our own memories here." Emily knew then that they were the ones, the couple the house had been waiting for. On closing day, she handed them the keys on the porch, the Victorian glowing in the golden light. "It's yours now," she said, smiling. "Take care of it and Clara's story." Before leaving, she placed a small box on the desk, containing copies of the letters and the key to the secret room, a gift for Sarah and Michael to discover. As she walked away, Emily felt a peace settle. Over her. Some homes choose their owners, and this one had found its match. Clara's love would live on, woven into the walls and the lives of those who called it home. Even after the sale, Clara and Thomas lingered in Emily's mind. With Margaret's help, she tracked down Thomas, now in his late 80s, living nearby. She called him, her voice trembling as she explained the letters, the house, their story. Thomas's voice broke over the phone. "I never stopped loving her." She invited him to visit, and on a sunny afternoon, he arrived, his white hair gleaming, his steps slow but steady, with the cane. Sarah and Michael welcomed him, eager to hear his tales. In the parlor, he recounted their dreams of traveling, of a life together, his blue eyes misty with memory. In the secret room, he paused before the painting of them, tears falling freely. "She was my everything," he whispered. Before leaving, he placed a letter in the hidden compartment. Addressed to Clara, "My dearest Clara, I'm home at last. Thank you for waiting." Emily watched him go, a sense of closure warming her heart. She'd brought their story full circle, a love reunited in spirit, if not in life. If you like this story, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more amazing home tales.